Hi. 1 second. Wait 1 second. I just gotta try to get this on my headset.
Sure, take your time.
Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Yes, so this is your third Koraniyule?
Yes. So the format
Is Millennial Yule? Go ahead. The format is what?
Oh, is Millennial still going? Was that what you were going to ask?
Is Millennial still going? Yes.
Yeah.
Are you still not allowed on?
No, I'm not. Well, I haven't been invited. And he's there's already quite a list of people going to be on, but I think they'll be saying the same thing and not really saying anything new, and maybe they don't want anything new. It's all being nannied and not upsetting people and having a very censored live chat and a range of topics. Which is sad.
Yes.
But I guess if you're a YouTuber and you want to derive an income out of your social media presence, you know, I mean, people do unsubscribe, don't they? When they don't like what you, and I guess, I made the distinction a long time ago that I'm using social media platform as a means to an end, and I don't regard myself as primarily a YouTuber, and I'm a political activist using YouTube to promote my message, and I think you do the same too, don't you?
Well, yeah, no, I'm not doing things just for ratings. No, I don't. I've never come on here and done something for a rating. Like, I've never I don't put on like gigs and gimmicks and things like that. I think like a YouTuber or a social media influencer, a social influencer, are like people that actually more likely, like, they're doing things for ratings, right? They're whereas we just have a message that we want to get out there, and we're not doing it for the ratings, we're not doing it for money, we're not doing it for clout, we're just doing it to get the word out.
Yeah, because this is our priority, to explain our ideas and hopefully get people to agree with us. And if we get closed down on one social media platform, we're going to try another. We're going to be completely unsentimental about it, because social media is a means to an end, and we are concentrated on the end, while I guess people who want to derive an income want to keep their YouTube channel, keep it monetized, so they will be censoring others and self-censoring to not to keep their channel.
Yeah, no, I know. So we don't have that problem, so we can just talk freely. I want to let your audience know, so this is Koraniyule, so I have to say what's new this year, but one thing that's very new that just happened yesterday is there's a new, if you go to the petition site and you type in Noah Hyde, it's called the petition site. I think the petition site, and I think it's .com. There's a new Noah Hyde petition against the Noah Hyde laws and stopping Trump from signing Education and Sharing Day USA. It was put up by, not by me, it was put up by this other couple who I've spoken about probably with you. There's this couple, he was born Jewish, she was born half Jewish, and they're both Christians. He converted, and she was actually raised Jehovah's Witness, and then converted to Christianity proper. And they do a lot about the Noah Hyde laws. Yana and Steve Benoon, I know a lot of people don't like them. I know there's controversy around them, I know that, but still, I mean, Yana Benoon has really done a lot to expose these Noahide laws over the past few years. It's called Israeli News Live is their website and their ministry. Israeli News Live, Yana, Jana, Yana, and Steve Ben Noon. And
How do you
yeah, they
spell
start
their last name?
Ben-Noon, I think.
Uh-huh.
Ben Noon.
Uh-huh. Oh yes, like none.
Okay, Ben Nun. Okay,
Or I
so
mean
it's,
that's how it's spelled. Maybe it's pronounced noon.
yeah,
Right.
Ben Noon, Ben-Nun. They're quite well known in the Christian community, and they have been getting invited on bigger and bigger shows. They've been on Brighteon. Today they're going to be on some big not international, nationwide radio, coast to coast show about the Noahide laws, and they're going to be spreading this petition. If you, yeah, just type in Noahide in the petitionsite.com, and two petitions will come up. One is repeal the Noahide laws and stop Education and Sharing Day 2026. That's the one. There's another one you can sign too. And that one I think mentions the United Nations in the title, but their one is the one that says Stop Education Sharing Day 2026. And so she's writing 2 books about it. Her one book about the Noahide laws is about to be published, and she's getting ready to publish that, Yana Ben-Nun. And she's going to be writing a more extensive, detailed kind of like, I guess, an encyclopedia. I don't know what she's calling it, but a much more in-depth book about the Noahide laws. So, yeah, actually, I have to say that, especially even in the past year, the Noahide laws, I mean, everyone always used to tell me no one's heard of them, no one's heard of them, no one's heard of them. It's no longer like that anymore, which I'm finally happy I can say after 13 years of activism and fighting and, you know, being told that I was insane and stuff like that. At least finally, like, you know, my father's like, oh yeah, I hear about them now. You know, whenever I go on to, like, he listens to Brighteon, and he goes on there, and he was just a popular right-wing media website, and he listens to it, and he'll send me videos when he comes across them on the Noahide laws. My uncle was very much against me, and my uncle told my father, he said, oh, you know what, my uncle found an article about the Noahide laws and showed my father and said, you know, maybe Vincent isn't so wrong.
Well, I suppose Christians would feel threatened, right?
Well, my uncle's not a Christian. I guess he's a spiritual person, but he's not Christian.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what his religion is, or is he one of those I'm not religious but I'm spiritual types?
Yeah, I'm not religious but I'm spiritual types. I think mm-hmm. I know he listens to, like, just, you know, whatever, but no, he wasn't concerned of Christianity. The point that I'm trying to make is that at least now, you know, people are no longer telling me no one's ever heard of this. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, it's more like, and I've noticed a lot of the, you know, I have a little bit of vindication because, you know, people are starting to, it's becoming a popular topic, and people are starting to say, okay, I see what you're talking about, and all this other kind of stuff, whereas before it was nothing like that. It was horrible before, especially when I first started out and I was publishing, and no one else was picking it up, and nobody else was talking about it, and nobody else was getting involved, hardly anybody. And now that's not the case. So the thing is that my friend feels a bit upset because she feels as though, you know, I laid all the groundwork for this, and I want Yana and Steve Ben-Nun. They're much more popular than I am. They're much more popular. They do have enemies, I won't deny that, but they are much more popular than I am. And if they're the ones that, she's like, oh, but they're going to get all the credit. First of all, everyone knows I'm the father of this movement. Everybody knows it. Anyone, my website is still the #1 on Noahide on Earth. It's still the most comprehensive on Noahide, at least from an anti-Noahide perspective against the Noahide laws. It's the oldest. I've been doing this for 13 years. Everyone always said, you're the only one. For 10, 12 years, everyone's like, you're the only person talking about this, Vincent Bruno. And now it's like, nobody's going to be able to take that away from me now. They all cite me. Even she mentions my name, Janovic. Oh, this came from Vincent Bruno's website. It's just, I will always have that name. So, but I'm glad there's this other woman, Diana Ketterman. She wrote a book about the Noahide laws, and she's been exposing the Noahide laws. Dr. June Knight has been exposing the Noahide laws. So there's a new generation that has spawned after me. My ideological children have been born, even though they're all Christian. They're all Christian. And I have noticed that the only real community that's fighting this in any way, shape, or form is Christians. Muslims, a little bit, I've noticed it now, a tiny bit from Muslims, not like huge, but very drips and dribbles I've seen Muslims against the Noahide laws. The vast majority are Christians who don't like them.
Yeah, because they would feel threatened by the idolatry and blasphemy thing. But for those who know what Jews really think of Christianity.
Yes, and so I think that the future of the anti-Noahide movement, well, look, the other person who is really the only other people, I do take it back that Christians aren't the only ones, actually. And I want to say the founders of this movement were all pagan. No, if they're not pagan, they're non-theist, near-pagans. Me, Adam Green, See Through It All, and I've noticed that. Do you know who Handsome Truth is?
He's an anti-Semite, isn't he?
Yeah, Goyim TV, Goyim TV.
I don't watch it, but yeah, I have heard of it, yeah.
Okay, Goyim TV and Handsome Truth, and he's really like bellicose and racist and dumb and does publicity stunts and shit and is a real weirdo. Anyway, he turned against Christianity, and he turned against Christianity and is kind of more like into like, Plato, Socrates, the pagans. And he now runs a radio show, a Twitter space called CQ Radio, meaning Christian Question Radio, because that's in retaliation to JQ Radio, which is Jewish Question Radio. And they're all like, they discuss the Noahide laws. So I would have to say, and what's interesting? My friend was like, oh, well, they're kind of stealing your work. And there was a woman whose work, I don't want to say I stole it. She was actually the first one to really organize any kind of in-depth study of the Noahide laws. This woman, Carol A. Valentine, who runs a website called come-end-here.com. That's where I learned about the Noahide laws, was from her. And this was years and years and years and years and years and years ago, 13, 14 years ago. So even I, had to rely on other people's work and built upon it. And but she did only write one article on the Noahide laws, and I spent a lifetime, a quarter of a lifetime on the Noahide laws. I spent a quarter of my life on the Noahide laws. So, you know what I mean? Like, more than a quarter. I spent more than a quarter of my life on the Noahide laws. So, I made it my, a big project of mine, and it's finally coming to fruition. And I'm glad, because I'm getting tired. I've exhausted a lot of the knowledge. I am getting tired. I obsessed over it for 12 years, past year or so, year and a half, not so much. I've been calming down about it. If you noticed, I've been moving on to other things a little bit in our spaces.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I've moved on to other things. And,
What is your latest thing?
Oh, my latest thing is having, it's just talking a lot to AI and having AI create, I've been having AI create personality systems for me. I've been having AI create religions for me. Yeah, I got into some new blogs. Oh, I started focusing a lot more on Beyondism. So Noah just consumed me, but I had to kind of work on my own ideology and my own existence and my own what do I believe? I know what I'm against, but what am I for? You know what I mean? So I have to start working on that a lot more. I've been working on Beyondism. I have a new blog about Beyondism, or a new website, actually, reformbeyondism.com. Reformbeyondism.com. So basically, we've taken, and I'm finally not alone. I do have friends in it that are helping. And it's basically, so the Beyondist system, Raymond Cattell, that personality scientist, very famous, award-winning, got the American Psychological Association Award of the Year, or whatever, like, whatever their awards are, he got this big one. Very well known, highly published, personality scientist, very, very famous, very credentialed. And but people don't know, it's a hidden fact that he started a religion called Beyondism. And so I know, Claire, you know this religion, but for those of your followers who don't, he basically said that he was saying, well, how should we live without, basing it on science, if you're not going to leave science, then how should we live? What ethics should we have? It's an ethics derivation system. Now, he called it a religion, but when we typed it into, I fed it his catechism and chapter summaries on Grok, and I said, does this count as a religion? And it said it was a scientific philosophy with religion-like functions, and described it as post-religious. But he said it was a religion. I mean, it's religion-like. Okay, let's call it religion-like. It's religion-like because it's an ethical derivation system. So basically what he said was, we don't know what future conditions are. So we don't know what's the best cultural approach and genetic approach to have. Which culture and genes is best to meet future conditions? We don't know future conditions, so we don't know how to specifically craft ourselves to be in the best position for future conditions. So what do? How do we best survive in future conditions? You have to diversify the human race genetically and culturally. So he said everyone should break off into these genetic cultural groups and incubate themselves and evolve away from each other, but cooperate in that we all monitor each other. So we're under this deal that we all get our own sectors with our own genetic cultural experiments, but we watch each other and we see what works and what doesn't work. And we absorb what works and we get rid of what doesn't work genetically and culturally. So, on this reformbeyondism.com thing, we've said there are certain things that obviously work. No murder, no theft, no rape, these different kinds of protection, self-protection, property protection schemes are something that we've said work. There's something that works. But so Reform Beyondism, how does Reform Beyondism changes Beyondism? Because Beyondism is non-theistic. Beyondism, there's no afterlife. If you're a true Beyondist, you have no afterlife, no heaven, no spirituality, nothing like that. It's basically just an ethical derivation system and all for the evolutionary process. But in Reform Beyondism, since it's actually not a religion. It's an ethical derivation system. We tell people you can keep your religion. You can be a Muslim, a Hindu, a Buddhist, a Jain, a Wiccan, an atheist, or whatever. But all you have to do is be part of this grand ethical biological experiment where we grant you, you have your own area to do your own genetic cultural experiment. But allow other people to do the same, and then derive your ethics through observation. However, just simply be in tune with the ethics that we've already derived, like no murder, no theft. So basically, if you want to be in covenant with us, you have to do things: no murder, no theft, no rape, no forgery, no this, no that. There's a list, and and even it is said that even if you want murder, theft, rape, you could create your own society. You'd be out of covenant. You can't associate with the reform beyond this covenant, but you would just serve as an example of what happens if you allow murder and theft in your society. Well, you're going to end up like these people. You know what I mean? It's an ethical derivation system, and it brings everyone under the same. Everyone can have their own religious system, but still be part of the same ethical derivation system.
Right, sort of like secular Quranism, saying you can be an atheist, secular Quranism, Muslim, Christian, Hindu, as long as you agree to obey the laws. And it doesn't force you to, change your beliefs, as long as you obey.
Yeah, something like that. And even you've adopted Beyondism officially into your secular Quranist program of monitoring different groups and religions to see how they perform.
Well, yes, because you have been helpful in developing secular Quranism, and I have to thank you for doing the secular Quranism blogspot, which is a collection of AI generated scenarios, which we had a lot of fun doing.
Do you still pass it around?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it works.
Well, I mean, I like it because it brings it to life with all the characters and sitcoms and stories, so people can more easily imagine an America under secular Quranism. I know you want to be, a father of some kind of idea. You could be father of secular Quranism in America. Woo-hoo. You would be the first, even if some Muslim came along and said, pushing you out of the way, you'd still be the first, and I would have to acknowledge you as being the first American gay secular Quranist, thus shaming all these men who claim to be heterosexual but are too afraid to entertain ideas. Or I mean, they're obviously afraid to say anything, like these YouTubers who just want to, use their YouTube as a source of income and actually just produce more of the same slop year after year after year, and heavily censor their live chat and the topics that can be discussed. Because I mean, if you really were a nationalist, I really think, however much you hate Jews and Muslims and non-whites or whatever, you would surely feel some obligation to entertain an idea that could, in theory, allow your race to rule again. And ultimately, I think it's a question of demographics. Obviously you're going to dominate if there are more of you, right? And then you have to maintain this dominance, which is, basically to keep on breeding and keeping your men and women under control and obeying the rules of marriage, which I know you find oppressive. But, as I keep saying, you don't have to do it. I don't have to do it.
But you also think that I want other people to have to do it. Why should I want other people if I don't want to do it? Why should I want other people to have to do it?
Because it's the only way to produce a next generation and parent.
It's not the only way. And I'm just all I've ever said is just give some people a piece of land and let them try some, plural child rearing and plural marriage, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
Sure. And so if you became the first secular Quranist, people will say, well, what's this? He's so gay, he's married. And then, but eventually they'll take an interest in your ideas because they'll be so aghast that a gay man could support secular Quranism, and they'll be full of questions and you would get so much publicity. But I've said
No,
this to you
but Claire, I'm so hated. I'm already
doesn't
so
matter.
hated.
I'm hated. Lots of people get their YouTube channels because people hate them, and hate watch is now an expression, isn't it? A verb.
Yeah, I know, but you need like, I know what you need. You need some kind of like, I don't know what you need. You need some.
I need an American prepared to use his real name and commit to it. Obviously, I don't want you to say, "Oh, I'm a secular Quranist today," and next tomorrow you'll say, "Oh, I was only kidding." I mean, obviously, I would need you to commit to it, but I think you would get your legacy through saying, "Oh, but secular Quranism allows me to promote Beyondism," and in fact, Claire has incorporated elements of Beyondism in her legal system. So I don't see why we cannot, in fact, promote both our ideas at the same time.
Let's see, Claire. I'm not prepared to do that right now. We can discuss it, but yes. So yes, I started focusing more on Beyondism, and I don't know if it was this year or last year. I didn't talk about this last year. It was within the year, maybe early this year or late last year, but I didn't talk about it on last Koraniyule. So, you know me, I just love coming across like these like cult leaders, these little cult leaders, and last year we've definitely talked about Carol Balizet. Do you remember Carol Balizet?
Oh, of course. I
Yes.
have learned a lot from you about, breaking up religion into basically three aspects, right? Because, Carol Balizet was the Christian Science, the founder of Christian Science.
No,
right?
no. Mary Baker Eddy was the founder of Christian
sorry, I
Science.
keep confusing the two.
Carol Balizet was the one who said medicine was witchcraft and had people giving birth to babies outside of hospitals and not going to hospitals when they felt sick and stuff.
So it's the same idea of iatrophobia, wouldn't you say?
Well, but yes, and this is going to springboard into another topic, but Christian Science was more of a way of thinking about matter, and all is mind, nothing is matter, and so therefore you can control things with your mind, and so therefore you can remove diseases from your body with your mind. But Carol Balizet wasn't quite that developed in her philosophy. She was more of a traditional Christian, but she just believed that medicine was witchcraft. She believed that this was dark magic, that all this medicine, these pills and instruments and surgeries. And what was the thing of why it's so interesting is she was a nurse, and she was not just any old nurse. She was like, a big, if you could call them a big time nurse, doing like, ER and special operations and stuff like that. She was a nurse. She was a proper nurse, medicine distributing, surgery assisting nurse. And she totally turned against medicine and called it witchcraft. And
she must have known about the maybe sharp practices of doctors and hospitals to generate the most income from their patients.
Well, maybe, I'm not sure. But she was, we've spoken about her before. It's Carol Balizet cult.blogspot.com. I think it's, Carol Balizet.
I'll put your Blogspot profile in the link so people can go through your whole list of interests and blogs on different subjects.
Yes, on there you could see it's called Carol Balizet Cult. You'll see it. And we went over her last time. Why did I bring up Carol Balzette? Oh, I was just bringing her up as that, I love coming across these, particularly women. I particularly like these like esoteric women. We talked about, we listened to the whole thing of the Blackburn cult. You might not remember the Blackburn cult, but we did.
California, which was her cult, wasn't it?
It was Blackburn cult was May Otis Blackburn. And that was a weird cult. That was very
California,
strange.
wasn't it?
In California, very strange, very bizarre cults. Like just bizarre as it gets. I've never seen anything so strange in my life when it comes to cults. It was a very strange cult.
Can you remind us again of what the cult
well, her and her daughter were, experiencing joint hallucinations. If it wasn't that, it was just a total scam. But that angels were coming to them, and that angels were going to dictate a book to them that would show all the mineral, gold, oil, diamond deposits on Earth, and that they would become immensely wealthy. And so they got people to believe that they were divine messengers from an angel that was going to make them all wealthy, and that the world would soon be ruled by 11 queens who would live in Hollywood Hills in marble palaces. People actually, yes, can you believe this?
I love the story. It's just made to appeal to Californians, right?
Yes, no, that
Could I be one of the Californian queens?
Yes, 11 queens in Beverly Hills would rule from Hollywood Hills, and she did mix a little. She didn't mix Christian Science in, but she did try to get Christian Science followers because she felt that since they were already following a woman, they would be more likely to listen to her. But oh no, there were murders. A little girl died, and she was trying to bring the little girl back to life, and they hid her under the house for like a year or something like that. Oh yeah, they were doing all different kinds of stuff. They were sacrificing animals, and just look up the Blackburn cult. There is a book on it that I didn't read, but there's on Parcast. If you go to Parcast, Parcast, Parcast has every Tuesday, or it used to be every Tuesday, has a show called Cults. And you can find these on YouTube. And one of them is on the Blackburn cult, part 1 and part 2. And it goes into the whole thing. And they had a very elaborate story. It was a mother-daughter, and the mother was fame hungry for the daughter, and was getting her into different kinds of shows. It really wasn't working out. She made people disappear. She made people disappear. She was a gangster. She had police officers working for her, and based on the most insane things. And like, you weren't allowed to eat apples because the apple is what tempted Eve. You weren't allowed to eat a lot of different kinds of things. It was a bizarre cult. And yeah, we've gone over her. But I did find a new cult that was much more different than these other cults. Carol Balzette, Christian Science, Seventh-day Adventist. So Matilda Ludendorff, who I can't believe that we don't know more about her. Like, I'm into all these esoteric topics, and, I have always explored different areas, and I had never come across this woman, Matilda Ludendorff. Now, I had heard of her husband, Eric, either Eric or Erich. I don't know how you say it in German.
I think it's probably Eric, but yeah.
Okay,
Eric, like Reich.
Yeah.
Reich.
Eric Ludendorff was a very close associate of Adolf Hitler in the early years, very close, extremely close. And but then later they had a falling out. Now, Erich Ludendorff, who was, you know, partially responsible for the rise of Hitler, had a wife named Matilda Ludendorff, who was a psychiatrist. And she was a very interesting woman. She was a psychiatrist, and she was very worried about how beliefs were affecting people's mental health. And she was very much against the occult. So she thought the occult was very bad for people's mental health. Things like astrology and omens and psychics and witches and things like that. She believed that these things were very bad. Theosophy, these kinds of like mystical doctrines and all that kind of stuff she thought were really not healthy for you. She was also anti-Christian. Not maybe I didn't read what she said about Christianity and mental health. Her exact reasons for being anti-Christian, I have to ask a little bit more about that. I know that with the occult it was about mental health, but anyway, she started a religion called Knowledge of God, something like that. Knowledge of God. It's in German, Götterkenntnis or some. It's God knowledge is what it translates to. And so basically, I started a blog on her philosophy and her books called Scientific Nordic Paganism.blogspot.com. I didn't know what to name it. I should have just named it Ludendorff or something like that. But she did try to make a religion for the German Nordic people. She did try to make a religion based on science that could compete with Christianity, the occult, Hinduism. She was anti-Hindu. She had critiques of everybody's religion. Now, what was her religion? Okay. It's not easy to explain her religion. But I do have book reviews of it. And what I've done is, okay, her religion was based on science, but she, unfortunately, she, there was some science in her day that wasn't sound. So there was a theory in her day that in evolution, you know, the first unicells that were created in the soupy mix of the evolutionary sea were immortal. This was not an uncommon belief in her day, that they had the potential to be immortal. And look, I'm still trying to figure this out. There's something true about that, but it wasn't exactly what she was saying.
Well, I'm reading her Wikipedia entry, and she apparently believed that Jesus didn't die on the cross in her book Redemption from Jesus Christ, which is an echo of the Islamic position about Jesus not dying on the cross. And then it goes on to say she considered the Bible a fraud and called for pantheism rooted in blood and soil rhetoric, in which the soul of God permeated the land as a whole.
Yeah, she was more of a pantheist type, and yeah,
so it's basically the worship of the German people, you know, right?
Well, it wasn't worship, because it wasn't theistic in the way that I don't think she believed in an anthropomorphic God.
It would be, I guess, a god of the German people, right? I mean,
no, it would be a
consciousness.
It would be a consciousness of the German people, a consciousness of the German people.
Yeah, and I imagine, you know, any group of people would, you know, if they weren't worshipping the Abrahamic God, they would think, well, you know, whichever God protects us. And, you know, such a God would, you know our ancestors and know the future, or, you know, and know our descendants, and, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Well, no, but But no, this was more about obtaining a kind of consciousness, which is what I wanted to get into, because you are supposed to affirm some kind of reality and then enter a state of God living, which I'm still trying to figure what that is, but I think it's just a sense of, well, okay, I don't like this. They were describing it as a sense of timelessness pre-death. Maybe I have to, this is very difficult and I'm trying to figure it out. Okay.
What you've said reminds me of Alexander Dugin's fourth political theory, which I've discussed a few times. So basically, he's saying that there's the first, second, and third political theories, and they are liberalism, nationalism, and communism, and they have failed. And my fourth political theory is, and it, something about the Russian people, the past of the Russians, the culture, the religion, and obviously, it's an abstract idea of worshipping the Russian people, their culture and their beliefs, whatever they are. It sounds kind of vague, but I guess it makes sense in a folkish sense, if you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, she tried to be folkish, but her God consciousness, I think, could be attained by any race. I think she was just saying that they do it in different ways, or that maybe it would be a different level of God living, or a different kind of God living. This state that you would enter. But here's the thing: she came up with some really good ideas. And she had some really good ideas, but however, her religion did have some problems in it. It wasn't perfect. And so what I did is I asked AI to perfect her religion. I said, remove all the parts that aren't scientific and make it metaphysically sound. And so far I'm on the third religion from doing that. If you go to scientificnordicpaganism.blogspot.com, scroll down and you'll see a big heading that says tinkering with her religion, or tinkering with the religion of Matilda Ludendorff, tinkering. So, and then if you go down, you'll see a section called cosmic rationalism. That's one. Then rational pluralism, which I don't like, which I might almost take down. And then the ethical pluralism is the third one that I'm working on right now. And it's interesting that you did bring up Christian Science, because I'm all of a sudden my newest interest, my big interest. So I've told you this story before. I went to a Christian Science church and I listened to a whole lesson, and it was just basically about how to think about matter, like what is matter. And I wish I had recorded it. I would have loved to record it, because it was so simple, straight to the point, and easy to understand, that I was able to grasp it. And I was walking home and I'm contemplating what I had just learned. And for a second, I don't know, if I almost believed it, or if I did believe it, or if I thought I believed it, or if it was a partial belief, or something happened where I slipped into belief for a second. And all of a sudden this sense of being high came over me. I felt high, and I felt like I could walk through walls, which would, a lot of Christian scientists did come to that conclusion. The Church of Christian Science told you not to do that. Do you know that there were Christian scientists trying to throw themselves in front of trains because they said that, matter is an illusion and that it wouldn't hit them? The Church of Christian Science had to put out writing saying, don't throw yourself in front of trains, things like that. So, the fact that I thought I could walk through walls was not unknown to Christian Science practitioners, but that sense of feeling high. And after about a few seconds, and I was like, I don't really believe this. It went away as soon as I stopped. But just affirming, when I allowed myself to believe what the Christian scientists were saying, I felt the sense of ecstasy, not ecstasy, an altered sense of consciousness, which I could sense. Now, Mark Twain was talking about, Mark Twain did not like Christian Science or Mary Baker Eddy at all. He wrote a book called Christian Science, which you can find online, by Mark Twain. And but even in it, he said in Christian Science, which you read, I sent you the. I have an overview of it. I sent it to you once. I think you read it.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Twain said that even though he did not like Christian Science, he said that he could understand. He said it made people very peaceful and an inner peace. It gave them this sense of an inner peace that he noticed, that he said maybe it did have, even if it didn't work in reality, you couldn't heal yourself, maybe it gave you mental and emotional benefits. And that also reminds me, now I know in Hinduism, when people get really deep into these Hindu mystical teachings, sometimes they will get a sense of elation and transcendence. And some of them become manic. I mean, some of them become so elated that they wind up in hospitals. So I'm becoming interested. The thing is, this Matilda Ludendorff, an affirmation of a truth, right? Okay, so I affirmed that what the Christian Science teachings were telling me was true, and then I felt like I was on drugs. If you study this Hindu mysticism deep enough and fully understand it, and then affirm it as a truth, you can feel like you're on drugs. In Matilda Ludendorff, if you affirmed a certain way of thinking or reality, she didn't say you were going to feel like you were high or on drugs, but she talked about entering something called God living. So right now I'm working on that. If you go to that scientificnordicpaganism.blogspot.com, right now I'm extensively working on ethical pluralism. So ethical pluralism is basically saying, if you affirm a certain truth, that the world is made up of irreducible essences that have no common factor between them. If you affirm that, but you have to affirm more than that, it gets complicated, but you would enter the state of God living, which I want to ask it, is that a sense of well-being? Is it a sense of transcendence? Is it a sense of euphoria? These different kinds of things. I'm becoming very interested in I'm becoming very interested in how an idea can make you feel euphoric like that, and I wish I could remember. Can you hold on one second? I just need to use the bathroom.
Mm-hmm. I'm making a mental note to myself to ask Vincent when he comes back what he means by metaphysically sound. I think I can quite easily see that there are, certain ideas that, we like, that we just like thinking about. So I guess thinking about things that we like will make us happy. And I think when Vincent talks about something being metaphysically sound, I think he just means logical. When ideas are supported by sound arguments, I think that might be what he really means when he talks about something being metaphysically sound, i.e., not illogical. So it would be logical for Vincent to be the first gay American to support secular Quranism, and this would take the scariness out of secular Quranism and get it more talked about and change the minds of Americans into supporting what is, I guess, at heart, Sharia. But it has to be introduced in a palatable way in a society already made degenerate by a long-standing culture of casual sex. So I think Vincent is ideal for this purpose.
Hello?
Hello? Were you listening?
Wait, hold on. I can't hear you. Hello?
Hi.
Wait, hold on 1 second. Hello?
Hi. Can you hear
Oh,
me? You can't hear
yeah,
me? I can hear you.
I can. It's just my headsets won't work now for some reason.
Oh. But you can hear me.
But yeah, I can hear you. Anyway, so I'm starting. I want to learn about this, and so this ethical pluralism. I'm going to have to study it more deeply because it's very complicated, or difficult to understand. I will give it that. I'll give you that. It's
You
difficult.
just have to work on defining it properly in one sentence. That's all you
I can.
need to do.
No, well, it might take
Just
more than.
ignore all the words. Just if you want to pursue it, you have to define it in a way that is distinctive and memorable and clear.
Well, that might not be possible with this, but the point is that it promises if you affirm, if you, it promises that if you affirm this truth, if you make this truth your own and you actually believe it, you should enter this state of God living. Which I'm wondering, is that the same state that I entered when I affirmed Christian Science? Is that the same state you're entering when you affirm Advaita Vedanta? You know, it, you know, um, and that I'm sorry, Christian Science could not be summed up. Okay, maybe it could be summed up in a sentence, but that's not enough to get you to enter that state. I had to listen to a lesson. I had to listen to a lesson on matter in a Christian Science church in order to be able to enter that ecstatic state that I was able to enter. I can't remember how I did it. I don't remember what I was believing at the time, but I did, and it was okay. So it took a 45-minute lesson for me to be able to do that. So maybe it would take about an hour or two of reading of ethical pluralism in order to be able to do that.
I think really it's a feeling of certainty, right? You feel certain that you can walk through a wall or whatever it is. It could be, oh, I think he loves me. I think she loves me. And I feel sure, whatever,
Yeah, but this
thing that
the
turns you on.
making statements about the nature of reality, making a truth statement about the way reality operates. And I'm trying to figure out how this gives you bliss. How does this give you bliss? How, you know, why did I enter that state of altered consciousness when I affirmed what Christian Science was teaching me? You know what I mean? And I could
Because
see why.
you're a seeker, Vincent. You want to believe in something and you reject the religions that are currently on offer.
No, I that's no. The point is, but I'm not the only one. Other people who believe in Christian Science enter that state, and they want to stay in that state, and I can understand wanting to stay in that state. It's a pleasant state to be in.
That feeling of certainty
Um.
and
Okay.
of being
There.
good
Okay,
and
but
safe.
no, there's things that I'm certain of that don't give me elation. I'm certain that people are starved to death, but that doesn't give me an elated feeling.
But yeah, it has to be something you like, that you feel is true, that you are actually experiencing.
Well, I neither like nor dislike what the nature of reality really is. This is about making an affirmation about what the nature of our existence is, and somehow I don't know how. This is supposed to bring me fulfillment, which is attractive to me because,
Yeah, you
well,
you
like we
want
were
to
saying,
feel that your life has purpose, and that purpose is good and will reward you in the afterlife
no,
if
there,
you
no,
fulfill
no,
that purpose.
see, this is a pre-death fulfillment in these religions. In Matilda Ludendorff, there was no afterlife. It's pre-death fulfillment. It's about living a lifestyle that keeps you in that God-living state of consciousness. Is what it's about. So, and okay. The trade-off is that you experience timelessness pre-death.
Yeah, so you think, well, I've got, such a transcendent feeling. I'm sure when I die, I will experience that same transcendent feeling, but forever. Isn't that
I don't know. I don't think it's that. I don't think it talks about the afterlife. I think it's about making sure that you're in a timeless, spaceless state now. And I'm still trying to figure out what that is. But the thing is that um, Hinduism does say that, and people do get there. I mean, okay, people don't practice Advaita Vedanta because it doesn't do anything for their mind. Advaita Vedanta has benefits. It has mental health, emotional benefits. I mean, it makes you. Well, I was always angry with the Hindus because they were just always just totally fine and never lost their cool or would start screaming or anything like that. They were just like, you know, too happy was their problem. You know what I mean? It was their problem that, they were in such a state of bliss that things didn't bother them. And they were like, oh, you have to calm down. You can't get all like this. I'm more high strung and like, let's do something right now to stop this.
Yeah, but these feelings are they must be temporary, right?
Not if you stay, not if you keep affirming that. No, well, that's the thing. No, okay, when I entered that state, when I believed in Christian Science, the only reason I came out of it is because I stopped believing in what I was believing in that moment in time.
Right. So why did you stop? Because it didn't make sense?
Yeah, because I didn't think it was real.
Right. And this brings me back to the mental note that I made to myself earlier. What do you mean by metaphysically sound? Do you mean by it logically sound?
Let's look up let's ask Rock what it means to be metaphysically sound. What does it mean for a religion to be metaphysically sound? Someone else here now?
No,
Oh, I
haven't. I mean, Yon God is posting in the chat. He doesn't think any religion
okay.
is metaphysically sound, but how about you defining for us what you think it means?
Well, no, okay. Okay, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I'm just going to read the key points. Internal coherence and consistency, logical validity and rational defensibility, alignment with broader reality, explanatory power.
Yeah, it sounds like some idea that is logically sound. Yon God says that Milo has appeared on Tucker.
Yes, he did. Disgusting. He is the most disgusting pig. You know what he said? I was just listening to him while he was saying, "Oh, I am so regret mainstreaming homosexuality in the Republican Party, and I've created Lady MAGA and Nick Fuentes." So he blames himself for creating a homosexual Nick Fuentes creation.
So, what was his purpose? Just to apologize to the American people?
I didn't watch the whole thing. All I know is that, he's disgusted that he mainstreamed, and he's just playing this whole like, oh, what I've done to my soul. He's one of these like, he overplays like, his ex-homosexuality now, like, oh, the things that I've done to my soul. He's it's like being an ex-alcoholic or an ex-drug addict. You tend to go overboard with you were overboard with your addiction, and now you're overboard with your fight with your addiction. So now he's just going overboard with his anti-homosexuality. Now it's like, it's his anti-homosexuality is now his new identity,
Hmm. So he's celibate now. Is that what he is saying?
Yeah, he must be. He's not dyeing his hair anymore.
Oh.
No, he's not dyeing his hair. He's not wearing fancy clothes anymore.
And is he still no-hide?
He wasn't a Noahide. He's a Catholic.
Oh, so he's still Catholic.
He's still Catholic, but he's running around with all these Noahide Catholics.
Right. Isn't that a contradiction in terms?
Oh, you would think, but no.
Well, look, I think most people are actually mad. Don't you think? I mean, nobody makes any sense. They just mix opposite words up to each other with each other, and then they don't understand when you say you can't be a Jew-loving Nazi. You can't be an Orthodox Jew Nazi. It's like they don't care. They don't understand. According to your God, Milo has a brain tumor and is going blind. Did you hear about that?
What? Oh.
So I guess, having a tumor in your brain might make you not be able to think logically. And then, people will know, oh, he's got a brain tumor. Let's not upset him by pointing out, the irrationality of his arguments. So, you kind of get brain tumor privilege, I suppose.
Well, I want to ask if that's true. If he has, let's see if that's true. Milo Yiannopoulos brain tumor. Yeah, he has a brain tumor. Yeah, it looks like it. It's at least
Are you still going to be mean about him?
Well, I've always been mean about. I've always hated Milo from the beginning to the end. I've always hated Milo from his very.
What do you hate him for?
Well, I didn't like him before when he was like Mr. Alt-Right.
Are you just annoyed that he's kind of because he's British?
No, it wasn't that. It's just that, well, he was just trying to like, he's gay, but he was trying to curry favor with people who don't like gay people. And so, it's kind of just like begging for crumbs from people. He was always a little bit of a circus show. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He always was like putting on the show and like had all this like swagger, the fancy clothes and, you know, the crazy hair and, you know, all this other kind of stuff. And, you know, doing stupid publicity stunts like wearing in Native American costumes and stuff like that in order to protest political correctness. Like, I think that's the least important. Like, you know, these people that are like, I just want to say the N word on social media. Like, people, like, you know, there's higher class ways to talk about woke culture than, you know, like trying to offend cultures and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, there, you know, it's just there were better ways to go around it, but I mean, I'm in the right wing, but not stereotypically. He tried to be in this kind of like, he tried to find a niche, okay, with the crowd that as it is. The crowd as is won't accept me. The crowd as is won't accept me for who I am. I would have to change. I'd have to become a little bit more like Milo, like trashing trannies, and like I would have to do with what his name wanted me to do. What's his name? Oh my gosh, what's his name? That was Steven what?
I don't know who you mean.
Steven.
Do I know him?
Yeah,
Stephen.
Steven.
It's SJJ.
SJ James, yes. SJ James.
Stephen J. James. Mm-hmm.
Stephen J. James wanted me to become SJ James wanted me to become super gay, the super gay movement where I was like the trad, you know, the trad traditional gay man, not tranny, not trans, not this, not bi, not that, and like be like all like chauvinist and like, you know, anti-trans. Like, yeah, I would have to do shit like that in order to get curry favor with these people. I'd have to do something divisive and stupid and like, you know, like Milo would do. But yeah, no, and then he switched, he became non-gay and he got involved in Catholicism, and now he's like, I don't know what his point is on Israel these days. I don't know what he's thinking about Israel. He was always, well, before he wasn't anti-Israel before, but he did have some criticisms of Israel previously. But I don't know what his position on Israel is these days. But
He's bound to change it to
well,
trim his sails according to the wind.
yes, that's exactly what he seems to be doing, trimming his sails. And, you know, this whole thing about becoming ex-gay, I think that was just another grift. You know what I mean? I think that he got thrown out of the movement for his comments, which, you know, about enjoying his sexual predation. And then he needed to find a way to come back in. And this was his only way. And you know, and like, you know what I mean? He wanted the attention. I remember when I went through that spell when I was doing nothing but Milo.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing nothing but Milo updates and stuff like that all the time. Well, yeah, no, you should have seen him on these Christian shows. I want to be there. Okay, like they were specifically telling him in these shows, you're new in Christ. Maybe you should take a back seat. Maybe you shouldn't be running the whole show. Blah 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 blah. And he was all like, "No, I want to be out in the crowd with all of them," and blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? It was, you know, he wants to be in a position of attention.
Mm-hmm. So he can't be trusted. He's just an attention whore with no fixed ideas. Unlike you.
Unlike me?
Well, you do
have
take your look. Not that I agree with your ideas, but I mean, you're obviously trying to do something. You are trying to create a system. You are trying to solve a problem as you see it. Well, he is just wanting the attention for the sake of getting attention.
Yeah, no, something like that is going on. He's doing, you know, he's doing something, and it's taking him, it's taken him this while.
Mm.
I think that he's, always up to no good. I think that he's just kind of a troll and a prankster, and and yeah, no,
Mhm.
he's taking, he's 3 months a Catholic, and he's already like, doing interventions. I forget who that one. There was this one YouTuber who was famous, who's a Christian, but he stopped believing in the Trinity. And Milo did this whole intervention. You know what I mean? 3 months a Catholic, and he's doing interventions into other people's faiths.
Mhm. Mm.
He was doing like, I mean, he really fell low when he was doing like Catholic QVC. You know what QVC is? Do they have that in England?
No, what is
It's
it?
like QVC is like, I think it's called QVC in America, where it's like, it's just cheesy. It's like a television show where it's just like, hi, we have a product for you here today, and we're going to look at this. And wow, just look at this. This statue was made in this country, and it's only $10.99, and blah, 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 blah. And wouldn't you love to have this in your house? And oh my God. And then people come up, oh my God, it's beautiful, blah, 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 blah.
Oh,
They're
it's a shopping channel.
yeah, shopping channel. Usually
Uh-huh.
there's two of them there, like gossiping about what to buy. And he did the Catholic QVC. They were gossiping and over about Mother Mary statues and rosary beads and holy waters and all this other kind of stuff. And I mean, like, people really felt as though he felt really low, because
Mm.
QVC is considered corny, in
Mhm.
America. These
Mhm.
shopping channels are considered like, just,
Mm.
not, if you're sitting around watching QVC all day, there's a certain stereotype about you.
Mhm.
And, he was just doing Catholic QVC. And, I remember people were like, oh, he's fallen so low.
Mm.
Well, it was all the liberals that were saying he fell so low. But I mean, I don't know. I think Milo's, life is a sad trajectory. I don't think that I don't know. I don't
You
know.
can easily surpass Milo secular Quranism and promote Beyondism.
Easily surpass. Well,
Of course you
I think
can.
already surpassed Milo Yiannopoulos. I think that I have more. I think I have more respect than he does, even though I'm not respected. But I think I have more of it than he does.
Yeah, because you're doing it more. You're doing what you're doing because you believe in it, not you're doing it just to be weird and annoying and attract attention.
Yeah. Yeah. No. It's I. Yeah. Yeah. He's definitely gotten himself in a certain position. Now he has this brain tumor, it seems, and that might be the end of Milo Yiannopoulos. And yes, now he's calmed himself down. In that Tucker interview, he had old dark hair, his dark curly hair that he never allowed, I guess, to be dark. He always bleached it. Though the last time, remember, I showed that video of him and Laura Loomer fighting, and he had pearls on and everything.
Oh, really? I don't remember Milo with
You don't,
curls.
you don't remember the fight with Laura Loomer?
Oh, yes, 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 I did. Did he have curls? I mean, he
I think
wasn't.
I think
I mean, I don't think you got a good picture because it was just people moving around, wasn't it? I
well,
can't
well, his
remember.
hair was all bleached and trashy, and
Hmm.
you know, bleached out, and he was dressed flamboyant, and he hadn't looked like he looked like a homosexual the way he was dressed. And yes, it did look like he was wearing pearls. It looked that way, unless it
Oh,
was a
yes, yes,
rosary.
pearls. I thought you meant curls. Mm.
No, pearls. Don't you
Yes,
remember
yes, I
pearls?
remember the pearls now. Hmm.
Yes, I mean, and his cowboy hat and his, like, dapper, dress and stuff like that. And people were saying, you know, you know,
Mm.
Oh yeah, no, he was on these Christian channels with his bleached hair and his, gay haircuts and stuff like that, and all this other kind of stuff, and everyone was complaining and complaining and complaining.
Hmm.
There was lots of complaining going on. That was a fun time. Those are fun times.
Yes. Well, he looks much better now without the stupid bleached hair, but he's still very camp.
Mm.
Well, Tucker's certainly interviewing a lot of interesting people.
Yeah,
He'd probably interview you if he became a secular Koranist.
I doubt that.
Yes, he would. Because then it wouldn't be kind of peripheral esoteric subjects. It would be, yeah, it would, make people react to it. So you might as well. It's not like you're doing anything else.
I'm looking
And you're familiar with the idea. It's not like, oh, who, what? You can explain it better than I do, which is your boast, which I'm happy to acknowledge.
Yeah, no, I don't know if he really said this. Nobody's gay.
Why would anybody say that?
Well, I don't know if he really said. It's saying that he. Let's just see where it says that.
Well, I thought he'd be more likely to say everybody's gay. Or could be if they wanted to be,
Wait. Oh no, he's so. Yeah, he said nobody's gay, and then it's a trauma response. Blah 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 blah. He's gone. He's trying to become this expert in like homosexuality. I think he's gonna just try to become the expert in like ex-homosexuality and
Well, yeah, because when you do these things, you get, the people who are gay and the people who hate gays watching your thing and paying attention to you, because you're kind of the crossroad between, being gay and being, and hating gays. So you kind of instantly get, or in theory anyway, twice the number of viewers and attention than you would otherwise, and
Yeah, no, he's at a good cross section. He has, he's never going to rise back up to his fame that he had, but
yeah, because people can't take him seriously. In the same way that people can't take Richard Spencer seriously, because he's just so utterly unprincipled.
Yeah. What, he just goes where the wind blows?
Yeah, so that then even the dimmest viewer will cotton on to that and then ignore everything you say.
Well, I know he was like for Kamala Harris and all that.
Yeah, but he was basically saying, I don't want to be associated with the MAGA people, so he just went, therefore I will support everything MAGA people are against. And then, of course, he alienated all those people, and they'll never come back to him now because, even if he did say, I'm MAGA again, nobody. And also, MAGA has problems, doesn't it? Because there's now two interpretations of MAGA. And Marjorie Taylor Greene said, well, I want the original interpretation of MAGA, which is the end of endless wars and, not supporting Israel unconditionally, and Trump is saying, I control what MAGA means because I created MAGA. Isn't that the whole history of Christianity, Vincent?
Well, I don't know, but
well, I think it is. I'm so pleased I just said it because that was it just went through my head. But I think a lot can be made of Christianity and MAGA and the same, because it's so easy to show, what Europeans have made of Christianity. It's whatever I say it means. That's what it means, and I'm in charge now. So everyone who isn't in charge can like it or lump it. You know, so that's why all these sort of big ideas suddenly mean nothing. It's not something that only Westerners do. I mean, China now has this thing called socialism with Chinese characteristics because it does support commerce and private enterprise and that sort of thing. It's saying, well, as long as the people are happy. But can it be properly communism? Or I mean, we don't know, but anyway, they've kind of redefined their ideology from Marxism, Leninism. So I think even when what am I trying to say? Well, okay, this idea of being un-American, nobody talks about that now, do they? I mean, but there was a time
Well, they
when
used to talk about it all the time. But yeah, what does that mean to be un-American? Well, what does it mean to be American? What does that mean?
exactly, and now you don't want to talk about, well, no American wants to talk about it because they'll just be dragged down with people saying, what exactly do you mean by being American, and nobody can define it, right?
Well, it's very
But
hard
I
to
would say
find.
it's obviously more something to do with the Constitution, because you can't be an American without the American Constitution, and Americans were the first white people in the whole wide world to even think of having a constitution, because they were a republic, a constitutional republic, not just any old republic. And it represents a kind of advancement in thinking. It's sort of like the Magna Carta. Do you know the Magna Carta? Which is basically saying that barons have certain rights, and a king can't just come and take their stuff and tax them without summoning Parliament or something of that order. And then King John repudiated it, saying, I don't have to keep to it, because when I signed my name, I was being surrounded by barons who were obviously going to kill me if I didn't put my name to it. And so I repudiated, and he went to the Pope and said, I don't have to keep to it because I was under duress when the barons surrounded me at Runnymede and made me sign the Magna Carta. So they repudiated it. But it still represents this idea, like, well, get it down in writing and make sure they sign it. That's really the beginning of contract law. So I guess the idea of how, I mean, there were, I guess, unconstitutional republics in the past, like the Roman Republic and the Athenian Republic, and then I think America was kind of the first idea. It's like, well, we have to put it down in writing, and we have to make sure that people can't easily change it. They have to have a 2/3 majority, blah blah blah. And make it hard for people to change. But also at the same time say, well, if it doesn't work, you'll just have to change it for something better, won't you? And this, I think, represents a great leap forward in political thinking for the rest of the world. And you're not quite there yet, but obviously I don't think we can't really expect the founding fathers to say let's make America great with Sharia, because most people were Christian, and they wouldn't be able to understand very sophisticated ideas like being a constitutional republic, because they all came from Europe, and Europe was run by kings, and they probably can't even imagine not being in a kingdom. But now, 250 years later, I think we kind of get the idea, particularly with the internet. Most people in the world speak English. They sort of have some idea of what a republic is, and a constitutional republic, which means it has a written constitution, and even if they can, even if the words can be changed, you can still hold your politicians to account and say, these are the rules as they currently stand. And you have to follow the rules as they currently stand. Which I think is I think it's really important for ordinary people to understand it. Otherwise, what we're all doing is allowing our corrupt and incompetent ruling classes to make up the rules as they go along and say, well, liberalism is blah blah because I'm the leader of the Liberal Party and I can say what it means and nobody can contradict me without suffering the consequences. And this is basically what has happened to Christianity, right? And that's why it's changed so much over the centuries. But whatever you think of the Muslims, that they're saddled with this book and they can't throw it out because then they wouldn't be Muslim anymore if they don't accept the Quran, in the same way that the Jews can't do without the Torah. But Christians never followed the New Testament, and well, I mean, what is there to follow? Even if they wanted to follow it, that there are 8 to 10 authors of the New Testament. And of course, you would expect them to contradict each other and have different account of things. Like that famous cartoon of Jesus, giving a Sermon on the Mount and saying, now listen carefully. I don't want there to be 4 different versions of this, which I thought was quite funny.
Right. Right.
So Vincent, what's your next thing?
I have to think. Well, I just want to explore. I want to explore this thing about getting basically high with an idea, because if that's possible, that sounds quite nice to me.
Yeah, but I think the Buddha has beaten us to it now, hasn't he? I mean, he's saying, and then he said he sat under the Bodhi tree and he reached the nirvana, which is translated as enlightenment. So, but then if you ask, is enlightenment something that lasts forever? No, it is just a eureka moment.
Well,
That's what it is.
It might last. It might last you a while. Who said it can't last a while? The only reason
Because ordinary life interrupts you.
But no, but if it's just about affirming a certain truth, then like if you don't have to meditate to get there or do anything to get there, it's just affirming a certain truth, then I don't see why life would get in the way.
Well, okay, Islam talks about the peace you get from submission, right? So it's a state of mind. So I guess what the Muslims are saying is that once you decide to submit to the inevitable, you will get the peace that you have been looking for. You will, accept your lot in life, and you won't be so angry that your neighbor has more than you, and that you weren't, taller or richer or cleverer or whatever. And you will accept that, God disposes of things in the best possible way, even though we can't quite work it out. It's that sort of idea, really, which is I guess you have to be humble to submit, or be humbled before you submit. It's I guess a process. of deciding whether you want to submit to the laws of God. I mean, fundamentally, this is what the I guess a personal struggle, because
Well,
if
that's the
you're an
thing. It's a
atheist, then
struggle.
you want to worship your own opinions.
That way, it's a constant struggle. You have to constantly struggle with that. This is not about. I don't have to struggle with my belief about reality. I don't need to struggle with that.
But what is reality? There are
Well,
so many people who argue about what is or isn't.
but if you have a certain belief about it, that from that belief you derive fulfillment, then it's not a struggle. There's no struggle of submission and really wanting to do something different but you can't, and acceptance and these different kinds of things. It's different. It's a less painful way to a better state of mind.
Well, I think what you mean is conviction. You feel sure, either that God exists or he doesn't, and then from this, first principle, you work everything out about what you're supposed to be doing, right? But if you never make up your mind about whether God exists, so one day you think he does, the next day you're not sure, and the day after that you're sure he doesn't, then you will not get the peace that you're looking for, or the focus and direction to stick to your guns. And this, I imagine, is what is driving so many people mad. Particularly when their ruling classes lie to them and can't make up their minds, such as Trump, and changing the meaning of MAGA, going back on your word, not keeping your promises, being unreliable and inconsistent, and I guess watching our ruling classes do that makes us neurotic and uneasy and distrustful, and unable to feel sure about anything. So what we want, basically, is we want to believe in something that is life affirming, like good will be rewarded and evil punished, and we want to feel sure that good will be rewarded and evil punished, and that's it, really. Just these two things, and then everything will follow from that. But obviously, we have to believe.
We can't be assured of that, but science can assure me of the multiplicity, or at least I can give myself scientific reason to believe in irreducible multiple essences. I don't.
But what are these essences? You have to prove their existence, and
What?
and science and
Why?
philosophy
Why?
are two different branches of knowledge. You can't mix them up. How can you?
Well,
I mean, science is just about whether you can or can't do something.
This way, I don't have to believe that good is rewarding and evil punished. It's not that I don't want to believe that. That's a different. Wanting to believe it is different than having to believe it.
Okay, you want to believe in it, and then the next step is it logical to believe it, right?
Because it's neither logical nor illogical. It's not. It's not,
only logical to believe in it if God exists to punish evil and reward good. Do you see the difference between valid and sound arguments?
No.
You do, don't you? I'm sure.
Claire, you're asking me to buy that somehow I'm going to know that I'm going to get into this afterlife and that either I'm going to be rewarded or punished. And I don't know. With this system...
No, nor do I. Nor does anyone.
I don't affirm anything like that. Well, the only person that would ever get peace from that system who would affirm the afterlife, and the only person that would affirm the afterlife, is someone who's willing to affirm things that are impossible to know.
Okay, so your alternative is to what? What's your alternative?
Well,
ethical pluralism.
Ethical pluralism. So there's something which I have not figured out yet, which I am learning, but I do know from personal experience, it is possible to make an affirmation about the reality of the world and to enter a state of bliss.
Such as?
Well, I did it with Christian Science.
So what are we sure about Christian Science apart from the fact that there are Christian scientists who believe in Christian Science?
It's a way about affirming the way reality works. And when you affirm that, even whether it's true or not, when you affirm it, does it give you a sense of this world's, eternity? Then yeah.
Okay. You are into cults, and cults have a way of controlling cult members, right? So,
Well, nobody needs to control you if all you need to do is think of something and you get high.
well,
Then
they make promises to you,
there
right?
was no
And then
promise.
you choose or choose not to believe in it, and
Okay, well,
that's it.
as
And
if the
once you
world
choose to
doesn't have no
believe in it,
promises.
then they'll say, "Prove it. Prove that you believe what um, what we believe in." And then you say, "What do you want me to do?" And they might say, "Come and live with us," or "Come and fly with us to Guatemala, to Jonestown." And once you're there, you will have to pretend to believe, even though even though you have your doubts, because if you didn't, it would be very difficult to get out of Guatemala and fly back to civilization again. And then, even if you did manage to do that, your neighbors will say, "Oh, fancy seeing you again. I thought you flown to be with your cult leader in Guatemala." So a lot of these reasons are kind of personal and to do with their pride. People don't want to admit that they've been wrong, and that is
That
what
has
stops
nothing.
them.
That has absolutely nothing to do about affirming in your heart and soul, I believe this about reality, and then getting a euphoric feeling from it. That has nothing to do with that.
I gave you the example earlier of um, someone thinking that their object of desire returns their affections, right? And then they're so happy and elated, and they think, "Oh, yes, yes, she loves me too, or he loves me too." And it may not even be true. They could
Okay,
just be
that's
wrong about their affections being reciprocated, but
okay.
they get so
Proof.
high.
I don't think you can prove Christian Science is wrong, so it's not anything that can ever be taken away from you unless you just stop believing it on your own. If you believe that, I don't think can you prove that not all of matter is actually mind? Can you prove that to anyone, Claire? Could you go up to her and show a scientific equation that proves a Christian scientist that what they actually believe is wrong? Could you do that?
I can think of why Christian Science could be apparently correct, because there are all kinds of illnesses that get well on their own, and you don't have to go to a doctor to be cured. It just gets, your cold will eventually, you will eventually recover from your cold. For your cut will eventually heal, etc. So in certain circumstances, you you actually should just leave it and not do anything, not go
That's
to
no.
the
I'm
doctor,
talking.
and it will get well on its own.
Could not you could never steal a Christian Scientist's piece away from them because you have no way of proving to them that their religion is false.
Yes, because if you want to believe in something, you're going to put all kinds of obstacles in the way of people saying the opposite.
Oh, and
So
how are you going to prove okay? So I'm a Christian Scientist and I'm elated because I've affirmed the truth that all of reality is actually mine. So burst my bubble and take me out of it. How are you going to do that?
no, I'm trying to explain to you why. Okay, let's go down to brass tacks and say somebody believes in God, and the atheist arguing with the theist say, "I don't believe in God. Prove that God exists." But the theist will say to the atheist, "Prove to me that God doesn't exist."
Okay, so the Christian
So you
Scientist.
have these two situations which are very hard to prove, right? And then the two opponents will have to agree on whose standard to use.
Okay,
And this is something.
question. You would never be able to convince a Christian Scientist they were wrong unless they came to that conclusion themselves. But you could never prove to them that all is not mind. You couldn't prove that to them.
Are you talking about mind over matter?
Yes, I mean, yes, in a way, yes, but if a Christian scientist has affirmed that all is mind, nothing is matter, and from this they have an elated state, there's no way you could prove to them that it's wrong, nor would they want to come out of that state for any reason.
Look, what we do know is that there are people with minds in bodies that are made of matter, so both exist.
Okay,
One
well,
can't,
okay,
you
but
know, we
okay,
will
this
not
goes
have a,
very
we
deep.
do not have a brain
Okay, this
and a
goes
body to house our brain in.
okay, well, how do you know that not that okay, look, I cannot prove to a Christian scientist that all is not mind force. I can't prove that. And I'm sure with your very simple example that I'm sure they're trained to have things against what you've said. I mean, it's a systematized religion, and if it wasn't them, it would be the Hindus. If it wasn't them, it would be somebody else. But
No,
I
no,
don't.
it's about it's about the burden of proof, which I was trying to explain to you. So the
Yeah.
atheist.
So what's the burden of proof? Prove them wrong then. If the burden of proof,
Okay. Let me explain to you how it works in the law. So, it used to be the case in Europe that if you're accused of a crime, you have to prove that you didn't do it, which isn't very fair, is it? Because it's practically impossible that you didn't murder such and such a person on such and such a day if you don't have an alibi, right? So it's not fair for convictions to be secured on, um, you know, accusing people and saying, oh, you can't prove you didn't do it, therefore you must be guilty, unless you can find people who'll say you wouldn't do such a thing, right? So over time, the legal system evolved into something that is fairer, requiring that the accused be that the guilt of the accused is proven beyond all reasonable
okay, well,
doubt.
you're accusing Christian scientists of having a false faith, and you have no way to prove that.
No, I'm saying that there probably will be a time when it is quite right for you not to go to hospital or doctor because you're the
That's
thing that
different
you're.
than that's different than yeah. Okay, Carol Balizette didn't tell you to affirm a certain way about reality. She just said it was witchcraft. We're talking about affirming a kind of reality that goes beyond medicine. This is in all aspects of life, not just medicine. It's about saying this is how reality works. This is the makeup of reality. Prove me wrong.
Yes, so the Christian scientists will say, I believe in Carol Balizet and everybody is wrong. And obviously, if they're not going to be amenable to reason and they're quite happy believing in Christian science, then you're not going to be able to change their mind. It's only if they're actually persuadable by reason and they
What
understand.
reason? You haven't given one reason why they're wrong. You haven't given them one reason to give up their religion at all. Zero, zip, zilch.
Okay, so Christian scientists never go to the doctor, is right?
Okay,
Let's just be clear in case there are people listening who don't get it about Christian science.
I know most of them don't usually. Sometimes they do, but the point is they're thinking about reality you cannot disprove.
Well, exactly. So we have to choose reasonable people who can be
What?
persuaded by
Wait, what?
reason.
Okay, what reason do you have that believing all that is mind force is false? I don't think you can prove that. I don't think you could take that away from anyone. You're just saying, "Oh, you're unreasonable because you're not listening to me." Well, what? Why should I listen to you? What's wrong with the way I'm living my life right now?
So you're saying that Christian scientists never go to the doctor or
Yes,
hospital.
that's not
That is the fundamental of their religion because it's witchcraft. Yes,
no,
that's
no,
what you're saying.
no. Carol Balizette said it was witchcraft. Mary Baker Eddy and Carol Balizette are two different people. Mary Baker Eddy started Christian Science. Carol Balizette said that medicine was witchcraft. They're two different people. They said avoid the doctors for two different reasons. Mary Baker Eddy said that all is mind force. You cannot disprove that. And if somebody believes in that and has an elated sense of being, then there's no reason for them to give that up.
Okay, fine. I mean, if that's what they want to believe,
Okay, well, is there anything wrong with it? Can you prove what's wrong with their belief?
I'm not going to go out of my way to change them.
Okay,
If you don't want to go to
because
the
you have not,
doctor, I'm not going to
because you have
force
not,
you.
you would
If
never
you
be,
die, it's not my problem.
you would never be able to disprove them or take anything away from them, or there would be no reason for them to leave that religion if they truly believed that's how matter is
And
ordered.
they're perfectly happy, right? Yeah, yeah, of course not. But
Okay,
I'm not
well, it's
talking
not.
about these people. I'm talking about more powerful people.
Okay, well, what about someone? Okay, so what about, so you cannot disprove Advaita Vedanta? There's powerful Hindus. There's white men in the government who like Advaita Vedanta. I mean, maybe not many of them, but there's more and more Hindus. So someone's practicing Advaita Vedanta. You can't disprove it. It's giving them a sense of elation, and so you can't disprove it. So why should I give up my elation, for a promise of an afterlife when I have elation now and surety now, and I get everything now?
Okay, but is this what you actually enjoy now?
Yes, this is what they would.
No,
I'm not.
you as
Well,
Vincent
I have
Bruno.
not been able to affirm. I've not. First of all, I haven't studied. I cannot understand Advaita Vedanta.
Okay, that's what you keep saying. When I ask you these direct questions, it's
No,
like
no, no.
I need
I
to
know.
do a bit
Wait,
more
no, no, no. Okay, yes,
research.
I've experienced. I have. I told you when I did let myself believe in Christian Science, I did experience this, so I know it's possible.
Yeah, yeah, but you could be deluded.
Okay, well,
And I suppose, if
can
you
you
thought you
prove
could walk
that?
through a wall, you might, stop
Can you
yourself from
prove I
doing
was
it.
deluded? Can you prove an Advaita Vedantist is
No,
deluded?
it doesn't matter. I don't have to prove it. If you want to walk into a wall, fine. But I'm talking about, people who are already in charge and they're
Okay,
wrong.
there are hinges. Okay, Kash Patel is in charge of the FBI. Let's say that he's an Advaita Vedantist and has a sense of elation in this world, and he's just going to say to you, well, you can't disprove my belief system, and it's doing something positive for me, so I'm not really going to give it up for, submission.
So what were the argument is really between people who want Sharia and people who don't.
Well, no, it's just there's an okay, so someone else has an alternative lifestyle that gives them ethics and this world elation, and you can't disprove it. You can't say what's wrong with it. You can't
I
point
can, but it
what's
depends
wrong
on
with it.
who. It has
What
to be more than theoretical, right? So I'm not taking away the freedom of belief of Hindus. I'm saying carry on, go to your Hindu temple. I'm not going to
okay, and
stop
why
you.
should they believe in your rules? Where did your rules come from?
But,
What
but- well, I'm going to say, well, if you want to preserve the maintain the practice of marriage, Christianity isn't going to do it. The liberals are not going to support marriage. In fact, they support no fault divorce. They support gay marriage, which actually would lower the birth rate. And so, what do you want to do? Do you want to continue suffering more and more uncontrolled mass immigration, which everybody is complaining about? Or do you want to kind of feel like you live in a sane society run by a sane government? That's what I'd say to them. Well, that's what I'd say to you.
okay, well, the difference, I mean, they might say, well, yes, I'm an Advaita Vedantist, and I do see the point of having marriage, but
Let's just talk about you because then then it all becomes theoretical and you don't really know about
no,
these people.
wait,
Just talk about
I
you.
have not yet affirmed. I'm not yet able to enter that state of transcendence because I've not yet.
Right. So actually you're in theory open to reason because what I'm offering you is higher status, being the father of something significant to your country and the history of your country.
How
And I'm
much of a
saying,
problem?
actually, Vincent,
How
you're,
is
you're, you're ideal. You're even better than Daniel Hockey can't do for my purposes because he's really scary. He wants to, maybe even not educate women or we don't know he said quite a lot of sexist things and you're less scary and you're going to be a much better poster boy for secular Quranism than and yeah, so that's why you're so important and that's why you're so special. But if only you would see things, if only you would see the light before it's too late, before Trump starts World War III and we all die in a nuclear holocaust. You don't think he'll do it? Well, who knows?
Well, now this goes back to your gloom doom prophecies. Like,
Okay, so everything's going to be fine. Zion Don is just going to take
well,
you
you
to...
said everyone said that if we attacked Iran, that World War III would break out, and it didn't happen. So, you know.
Okay, so you can carry on attacking everybody and you'll be fine. So that's how you think, is it?
No, but I didn't say go attacking everybody, but
Well, that's what people are talking about, attacking China and who knows?
I've never heard anyone saying let's attack China.
Well, I was talking to somebody who seemed to think that it would be a good idea to arm
Government
Taiwan.
is talking about attacking China.
Well, I guess they're not really going to attack China. They're just going to arm Taiwan and hope Taiwan attacks China. And then Taiwan will be smashed. I mean, they're really stupid now. I mean, the Taiwanese. And so are the Japanese. And they've got a female president now. Or is it a prime minister in Japan? Japan leader. I mean, really, the most moronic people are in charge. So she's called, oh no, Prime Minister of Japan is somebody called Shigeru Ishiba. Why have I been seeing this woman's picture so much? I thought that she was the president or prime minister. But, you know, the Europeans are certainly led by two women, two warmongering women. Kaja Kallas, who is vice president of the European Commission, and Ursula von der Leyen, who is president of the European Commission. Oh yes, I haven't gone completely mad. So she is the Prime Minister of Japan, and her name is Sanai Takaichi. She assumed office on the 21st of October. So in Japan, they've got president and prime minister. Let's see how old she is. Yeah, they put somebody, you know, they always put somebody female and young and possibly attractive, I suppose. So they're putting women in charge, and they don't really take responsibility. Okay, she was born in 1961. Well, Vincent, it's in your hands. I think you should think about it. Elliot has arrived, asking you to reflect on
my appearance on the Adam Green show. Yeah, what about it? Yeah, Adam Green. I respect Adam Green a lot. He doesn't really like me because of my homosexualism and my homosexualist ideologies, but for the most part, he's pretty cool. I know he doesn't like gay people, but you know, most people these days don't. So, you know, it's kind of like, you know, if I threw out everyone that just, I'm not if I totally threw out, I can partially throw out, but if I totally threw out anything and everyone that didn't like homosexuals, I would be nowhere.
Oh, exactly, and I appreciate the way that you were supportive of Israeli network news. What
Israeli News Live.
Israeli News Live, even though they wouldn't have you on your on their channel or something,
No, the
because
people. Yeah, the people didn't want me on the channel.
yeah, and that was, but since you're against the no hide laws, you still support them even though they don't support you, which makes you, the more pragmatic activist, I would say.
Yeah. We've been going for about 2 hours, so I'm gonna go now.
Okay, have a think
Okay,
about
well,
how you could be father of secular Quranism in America.
okay, I will. All
Okay,
right. Bye.
speak to you soon. Bye.